Welcome to Mac and Blue, where we introduce you to who is building Arizona, bringing you the people and businesses that shape the landscape around us. From economic development and developers, underwriters and lenders, architects and engineers, to the very builders and suppliers that bring it all together. Now let's join our hosts, Robert Johnson and JJ Levensky, aka Mac and Blue.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Mac and Blue. I'm JJ Levinsky, your host, president and co-founder of Blue Wave General Contracting. Today, I feel like we've got a celebrity here.
Hardly.
We've got Josh Zolin, who's the CEO of Windy City Equipment and also the author of Blue is the New White. That is also his podcast, a book. I mean, this guy's, royalty and everything. So can't wait to have get into the nuts and bolts with Josh. But before we do that, everyone wants to know a little bit more about you. So first of all, we got to do the icebreaker. So what's the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received?
Other than your dad telling you some things that we can't repeat on the air. But
I was going to pick one of those too.
Well, you can reference those.
It would probably have to be one of my dad's pieces of advice. Nothing in life worth having comes easy.
Okay, I can live with that one.
Yeah.
All right. So great segue. You know how this goes. Everyone wants to get to know a little bit more about you before we get into the heart of the matter, which we're probably going to jump all over today. Just to kind of a qualifier, this is actually the first time Josh and I have met face to face, but we've talked. We've got mutual friends. We're in the same kind of arena. There's just lots of cool things. I think that I'm not a big karma guy, but I am kind of into that karma thing. So I think it was a destiny that Josh and I are sitting here today. I think you're going to find that what he's going to talk about is something that has been near and dear to me. What we've been trying to effectuate on the Mac and Blue podcast of just everything building Arizona, and one of them has always been about our talent, our labor pool, all those kind of things. So, but before we get into that. Josh, you know how this rolls is like, give everyone the full Monty and tell a little bit about your background.
Yeah.
Like how the hell and why the hell are we sitting here?
The full Monty. Be careful what you wish for. Well, first off, thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be on the show and finally meet you, in person. So, no, that's great. For those who don't know who I am, because I was dubbed a celebrity before I even turned the mic on, which is the first time has ever happened. So, how far back you want me to go?
Well, we found out we're both from Wisconsin, so you got to start there.
So I got to start there. Okay, great. So I grew up in Wisconsin. That's not where I was born. I was born in Northridge, California, but I moved to Wisconsin when I was like 5. Spent most of my life there, which was great. I was complaining the entire time, but looking back on it,
that's what we were born to do.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Looking back on it, it's probably one of the greatest places that I could spend my childhood. So. That was great. I lived on a farm, as you probably could have guessed when I said I was from Wisconsin. But it wasn't
don't
just
stereotype us all.
But there's a caveat to that. It wasn't a regular farm. So my mom's side of the family is all stunt people, right? They
stunt?
Yeah, stunt in the film industry.
Cool.
So my grandfather...
Sean, there's hope for you after all.
My grandfather was Charles Bronson's stunt double for a long time. He was one of the first in the industry, really paved the way. He's 93 years old. I just got to spend a little bit of time with him last week.
He's still alive?
How cool. He was Chongo on the Banana Splits Hour, if anyone remembers that. Danger Island, yeah. But anyway, his kids...
Well, there went our whole podcast. We're going to spend all the time there.
That's usually what happens. No. So my mom, one of his kids, she was in the industry too, along with all my uncles and stuff like that. So that was the family business growing up. So this farm that I grew up on was actually a school that we taught people how to break into the stunt industry.
How interesting.
And that's what I did through my high school career.
Now, did you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 half brothers and a half sister.
Well, that makes up a 1 1/3 by my math.
Yeah. So, and but honestly, there's quite a bit of age difference. So they weren't super as involved as I was.
So that was where I was getting. Were you the only?
I was the oldest, and I was the only one that kind of followed in those footsteps.
The beta tester, Josh.
Yes,
Here,
the crash dummy.
touch that. Here, put
Jump
your head
off
through this.
Yeah, roll this car, light yourself on fire, all that. But anyway, that's what I did growing up. I mean, that was who I was known as. I was known as the stunt kid. I mean, my first car, my license plate said J Stunts. You know, I had a bit of an ego too. So we could talk about that if you want. But anyway, all through high school, I was very vocal about not going to college, about, hey, this is my path. This is what I want to do. I'm going to be a stuntman. And I did, and I was. I moved to Hollywood when I turned 18 years old, got out of Wisconsin, went back to the heat where I was born to be. And honestly, it took about 2 years before I was like, this is not what I want to do. The bureaucracy behind everything, it wasn't my definition of success. At the end of the day, I was the guy that they deemed less important, and that's why I was in there. You know, so the guy that
You were expendable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the entire reason for my career is I was the expendable one. And I knew how to get hit.
Yeah, that's pretty. I could see how, thank God you saw that earlier because
Yeah.
that'd be a pretty shallow existence.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I see my grandfather and my uncles limping around and, you know, I mean, they got broken bones, broken backs, broken legs, broken arms, broken, you know, and it's just, it wasn't a life that I wanted to live. So, meanwhile, parallel to that, my dad had moved to Arizona. Him and my mom split when I was young. So he moved to Arizona when I was like 17 to start his own company, essentially.
So that would have been what, the 90s?
Yeah, when I was 17, that would have been 2003.
Or 2003, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I had no idea what he did for a living. I just knew that he fixed stuff. That was basically the extent of it, right? So I called him up one day and I said, Dad, I don't know what you do, but I know there's opportunity in it, and I know I don't want to see you on your hands and knees for the rest of your life, you know, because he was a one-man shop. He didn't like have a business. He was a trunk slammer for lack of a better term, right? And so I said, all right, I want to come out. I want to work with you on one condition. You teach me what it is that you do, and we grow the hell out of it. And because I know there's opportunity, I don't know much else.
So you were an entrepreneur and you didn't even know it at the time.
I was, and there were some little indications when I was younger. You know,
you were a hustler.
I was a hustler. Yeah. You know, I would always I had a company called S&J Odd Jobs. I would just move rocks for the neighbors and dig holes for Mrs. Hanson. To this day, I still don't know why, but you know, like that's
Mrs. Hanson, if you're listening, he turned out damn well.
If she's listening, then I need to know what she takes for our vitamin supplement because she was pretty old, like 25 years ago.
She's probably still got a tin of cash waiting to give you on her on her mantle.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope those holes are still there too. But anyway, you know, I've always had kind of this little entrepreneurial spirit. I just didn't know what it meant. Never really had a chance to spread my wings with it. So I started working with my dad, and he was in restaurant equipment repair, hot side restaurant equipment repair, ovens, fryers, stoves.
And was he just the sole proprietor, basically?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, just him. He used to be a foreman for a bakery in Chicago. He actually
so
grew
that's
up
where
in
he
Chicago.
actually knew it.
Yeah. So that's where he learned it. He was actually a stuntman too, but then he got out of the business, went to work for this bakery.
The second smartest guy in the family.
Yeah, right. So
Dad, if you're listening, Josh still has you.
Yeah, that's right.
By one.
So he taught me, right? He taught me from the ground up how to fix restaurant equipment. And that was it. I mean, that was like my first introduction into the trade.
Okay.
Working with my hands, and I was
and that back then it was just Phoenix,
Phoenix,
the metro area.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's it. It was just me and him at the time, running service. You know, I had no idea what hard work was until I got to be a field technician myself, which today I kind of miss, if I'm being honest. I
think we all do.
Being out there and that sense of gratification when you fix something, man, it's different when you're sitting in an office. I get to fix bigger things, but sometimes it take a little longer to come to fruition. So anyway, we started working together, and once I started to learn one thing, I immediately sucked my teeth into another and another and another. So by that, I mean that, once I learned how to fix restaurant equipment, I was able to learn the back end of stuff, dispatching, quoting, P&L, customer organization, customer acquisition. My dad's really great at that. He was the shaking hands and rubbing elbows kind of guy, right? He could
sell ice to an Eskimo type of guy.
Exactly. Catch up popsicle to a woman in white gloves. You know what I'm saying? So like this.
Sean, better quote that one. That's even better than mine.
So that was him, and that's kind of what he taught me growing up, and we just started doing things little by little. We were working out of his garage, brought on a couple other people to help us, right? When we had too many customers that we could service
now,
ourselves.
was it Windy City at that time, or was
Yes.
it? Okay, so you'd already came up with that name.
Yeah. So he
as
actually
an homage to
Yep. Absolutely,
Chicago. Okay.
absolutely. So Windy City Equipment. Later, we rebranded to WCE, kind of like Kentucky Fried Chicken, branded to KFC. Because I kept getting calls from Chicago asking me to service their stuff.
Well, just open up a branch, John.
Listen, no comment, but I'm not opening a branch in Chicago. But anyway,
I don't blame you.
So this was kind of the thing. We just started bringing on people one after another. Just when it became too much for us, we brought on somebody else, and we trained that person and the next one and the next one. And fast forward, we ended up in 2014. We grew out of his garage, bought a commercial warehouse with some office space. Said, how are we going to fill this? 3 days later, it was full.
I think anybody that's been there has felt that.
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, look at what this is going to do to my overhead and all those kind of things. And you look at like my P&L and my, all your financials. And then the minute you get it open, there isn't a business owner that hasn't said that, oh shoot, we should have gotten twice as much space.
That's exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly what happened.
Just been there, done that.
Yeah. And so we kept growing, right? We opened a branch in Tucson at that point. We started a commercial HVAC and refrigeration division.
To supplement that.
Exactly.
It was a natural fit.
We had our customers knocking on our door saying, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? And my dad had actually gone to refrigeration school, but he'll be the first one to tell you that he sucks at it. So we never really got into it.
Just hire up.
Yeah, and that's what we did. We hired some brilliant people to come in and help us open that division, and we did. We outgrew that warehouse. We moved into another one, basically across the street, about twice the size. And then we opened in Houston, Texas. We opened a branch in Albuquerque, and today we have 4 branches in 3 states with, I think we're up to 75 employees now. We were on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America 3 years.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Yeah, and then in 2019.
Is your dad still involved?
Yes, he is, actually. He's one of those guys that you couldn't pay him enough to retire.
Got it.
Like, he will never step away from the business, which is fine.
Yeah, but you probably love him for it.
I do. Yeah. I absolutely do. He'll sign the checks. He likes to see. We joke all the time. I see the money coming in. He sees the money going out. So we have a really good dynamic there. He's stressed to the moon, and I'm like, look at all this cash. No, but he is, and we're trying to get him to step back a little bit. He wants to be a little bit more. His background is, just the mechanic, right? Yep. He wants to show the techs, how to do this, how to do that, get back on the street, rubbing elbows with the customers. So that's kind of his capacity now.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask an obvious question. When pandemic hit and all the restaurants got slapped, did your cash flow go to was it rough for a while, or were you diversified enough that you could have?
It's funny you ask. It's so a lot of businesses in my sector just completely fell flat on their face, right?
Really?
They had
I guess it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, especially, that focus on restaurants. They just, they had to furlough technicians and lay off their staff. We didn't have to do any of that. We're very well diversified with our customer base, and we focus on QSRs.
Oh.
So, and for
the audience, explain QSR.
Yeah, quick service restaurants.
Right.
So, your McDonald's, your Burger Kings, your drive-thrus, that kind of stuff. And so, as everybody knows, the dine-in places shut down, but the QSRs didn't.
If anything, they expanded.
Right. So we were able to capitalize on that. We have some great customer relationships too. So we actually reached out to some of our customers and said, hey, some of our newer branches are hurting. Can you throw us some more stores? They did. And so we actually, at the end of the day, after the dust settled, we grew by about 5% that year.
I would assume you actually probably picked up some technicians too.
We did. That was the other aspect of it too.
So
yeah,
good for you and good for your clients. Maybe not so bad for some of the other, the end user as we're talking, the non-QSRs.
Yes.
But, I don't know about you, but you drive by any restaurant now and there's a waiting line. It's hard for me to see where restaurants aren't being successful right now, other than they're suffering. I'm sure we could take a tangent as we dive into what we're going to go into a little bit here is with the blue versus white thing. They suffer from the same things we do. They do. But the demand is still there.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got off on a tangent.
No, that's...
So that's a great... I kind of cut you off, so keep going. So we got through, because I interrupted you during the pandemic thing. So what's kind of WCE doing what's the current model, or what are you guys looking at now?
So right now, after the pandemic and everything happened, we were in a pretty good position, just as a company, and all the way up until that point, really, we grew very fast for quite a long time, and it's always been chaotic growth, right? We're a team of workers,
right?
So screw the systems, screw the processes, just get the jobs, get the jobs, and get them done. And so now we kind of shifted focus a little bit. Said, okay, if we want to keep doing this, it's got to be more strategic.
Okay.
And we've been able to rein it in a little bit. Putting the right processes in place, putting the right people in place, and really finding models of business to keep us in our own frame of growth, if you will. So it's been great. The last couple of years we've been growing at about 15% a year, which is great for a business of our size.
Right.
And now we're looking more into like the acquisition models and stuff like this. How can we supplement this organic growth that we've had, by other means?
I know you're a humble guy, and you're not going to be offended by this question, but how, through that chaotic growth, what did you find out about yourself as far as being a leader and an owner? And
we could spend the rest of the podcast just talking about that.
I know it doesn't, because it segues into everything else we want to talk about. So
no, that's a really good question.
I want to just, might as well just hit you upside the head with the beam now.
It's actually a simple answer: is I can't do everything.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's really what I found out is I was always the guy. I never thought I could get burned out. You just pile it on me, I'll carry the load and I'll move forward. And that's what I did for a very long time. But I remember the breaking point. It was when we switched softwares. If you know anything about what happens when you switch an ERP software, let me tell you. It was January 1st, 2018, 4:03 in the morning. Like,
Wow.
And we switched softwares, and I found myself working like 20 hours a day just trying to make sure that the implementation went right, and that, these work orders were being built out, because, not everything translates. And so I worked like 20 hours a day for probably, 3.5 months straight,
just
weekends, 7 days a week. So it was tough. It was hard. So, and at that point I was like, shit, and once I kind of got humbled by that circumstance, I thought to myself, okay, well, I need to start delegating. Okay. And so that's what I learned most about myself during that time, is that I can't do it all.
Did you have the people, or did you also not have the people in the
combination?
Right spot? Yeah,
combination.
Because again, falling on that sword too. Been there, done that. Didn't have the right people. Didn't have the right people in the right chairs. Yep. I mean, all those this quintessential leadership things that we fail as being entrepreneurs, fast growth companies.
Yep.
And that's why I knew I could ask you the question, because I think there's a lot of people that'll be listening and watching this going, I just needed to hear someone else say it. Because there's someone that's just burnt out right now going to watch this episode or listen and go, I feel it. I've been there. And just know that, and you can chime in too. Just know that having been there with you, it can get better. But you have to give up control too. Yeah,
it has to be intentional, right? Yeah. You've got to come to the realization, and you've got to accept the fact that somebody doing something at 80% of what you can do is still a win.
Yep.
And I think that's what we all struggle with, right? Here, just give me the keys. I can do it faster. I can do it quicker. I can do it better. But at the end of the day, it's really none of those things. Not if you're trying to accomplish growth.
Okay. So congrats on, and I mean it sincerely, congrats on the growth with WC. I think it's phenomenal. Of course, I knew a little bit about your story, so hence the reason of getting you on here. But not the main reason, but one of the stronger reasons I wanted to get you on to share with the audience was maybe, slipped in the bathtub, hit your head, whatever. But when you came out with Bleu is the New White, you got to tell the story of, okay, what happened? How did it happen? Okay. And then we'll go into all the cool stuff that's happened because of it. Yeah.
All right, good. So I was never a reader growing up, believe it or not. I'm an author, but I wasn't a reader. But listen, I was a SparkNotes guy in high school.
Yeah.
That was me. But listen, through the growth of Windy City and everything, one of the things I kept asking myself when we started to bring on experienced technicians is, where are these guys coming from? Why are they asking me for this type of wage? Why are they asking me for these kind of benefits? Why are they under the impression they can get this much as a service technician? And that because, growing organically with my dad and bringing on inexperienced people, we never had to really understand, that side of the market. Not yet. This was at the beginning part of the growth, right?
True.
So once I understood that all of my competition was paying these wages, I was like, holy cow, I had no idea that the opportunity was so great just from a sheer monetary standpoint and from a benefit standpoint, right? I had no idea.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
So let me get this straight. You had undervalued yourself, your company, and you were basically under monetizing your service. Is that
100%?
Okay, good.
100%. Yeah, that's what it all translated back to, right? And so I had all these epiphanies at one time. I thought my head was going to explode, but really, what I took away from it is that nobody told me.
Yeah, they don't teach that.
I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know in high school or even after high school, I didn't know, that this kind of opportunity was available. Why not? Okay, so let me do some research. So I try to do some research. And what do you think I found? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There's no book. There's no resource. There's no anything that explains this, especially not for a hot side commercial kitchen equipment technician, right? Like, nobody knows what that.
Right.
Everybody likes to eat at a restaurant.
The mold. You created your own mold. Yeah.
So, at that point, I had, after high school, become an avid reader. Okay, so I never went to college or anything like that. So I found, my knowledge and my teachings in the people around me, number one, but number two, any books that I could get my hands on that was pertinent to what I did on a daily basis, profits, leadership, service if I could find it. But I couldn't, so I was laying in bed one night and just quite frankly complaining to my wife about how I couldn't find any of this information, right? And she was like, well, why don't you write it? Because I had talked about how cool it would be to write a book, mostly joking. I didn't tell anybody that until now, but but mostly kidding, right? And she was like, well, you said you want to write a book. Write a book. Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
So how'd you start the process?
Just scribbling stuff on a piece of paper. Yeah.
How cool.
So it was an interesting process. So I started it that way, and then I realized, okay, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Put me in the driver's seat for a commercial service company, but not for a book. So I ended up going to a company that helps people write books.
Okay.
Right. So it's called Scribe. I don't know if you know who Tucker Max is.
I do.
I hope they serve beer in hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's his company, right? And they helped me with everything. They took all my papers like this that were just chicken scratch, right? And they actually made sense of it. They helped me break it up into chapters. They did the editing, helped me with the book cover design, even with the ISBN numbers and stuff like that. So with their help, I was able to put it into this neat little package, and that's where the book came from.
Okay. And then you had, if I may, with tooting your own horn, you had success with it.
I did, yeah.
And then pretty soon, everyone wants a bit of Josh.
Yeah, that was unexpected, if I'm being honest, and so I'll say a thousand times, of writing a book, at least the way that I did it, the hard ROI is not what you're after. It's not the book sales, right? It's what comes of it. It's basically a business card, right, that I can hand people, and it's just a lot more impressive, and so once I wrote it, it really resonated with people in the industry, because I think that they had a similar mindset, as me, as, hey, it's hard to find people. People don't know this information. How can we take this labor shortage that we're seeing and try to close that gap a little bit? And that's really what the book aims to accomplish. I wanted to write it with a specific intent to speak the voice of today's youth, so like a high schooler, but with enough credibility or enough information to provide credibility to an educator or a parent or a counselor, and that was the line I tried to walk, and it really hit home with a lot of people in the industry. It's been adopted now into a little over 50 high schools, I think, across the country. And then to your point, it bred the podcast because tradespeople from all over the world had wanted to reach out and just kind of support the mission. And speaking engagements now is something that I do on a regular basis, which I never thought I would. I'm an introvert at heart, believe it or not. And so the soft ROI that came from writing the book is just immense. And then of course, with Windy City, it's very interesting that I can say, hey, I'm the CEO of this company. I'm also the author of this book. We've gotten technicians that way. We've gotten customers that way now. People that just read it and agree.
Yeah, I think, and again, I want your opinion, not my judgment. I'm in no position to be judge and jury sitting here. But, even kind of from a much softer, much more naive approach that I had too. It was kind of like even Mac and Bleu. When Robert and I started this, it was because it was passion of ours. And now almost a year later, the phone calls, emails, same thing that I get. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then you tell your story, and pretty soon, boom, it's that spider web effect, right? Yeah. It's like, and if you have a genuine, and I know you well enough that the genuine, the authentic version of you of why you did it, what you were doing it for, and then even your intrinsic motivation. I think that's the part that no one talks about. It's like, yeah, Windy City's obviously benefited. Better technicians, better customers, better everything, right? That your ecosystem grew.
Absolutely.
And it grew exponentially, probably. But the part that no one understands, or I think it's hard to relate, is when it's your baby, your mind, your thought, your love, your passion. It's like you go to bed at night going, "Wow, I'm now a better version of myself." And I'm saying that through your eyes because, I want to do that same trajectory with this, and that's why hopefully you're sitting here today, and we can help effectuate a lot of what this is. There's a podcast that we do that we aren't talking about labor. Right, and everyone that we have on here about labor, talent, human capital. How can we get and retain better people? And I think you are one of, I wish there were more, but I think you're one of the few that has identified it, put your arms and your passion around it, and now you're sharing that with the world, and especially in our space. It's like, hey, there's no secrets here. Just be a better version of yourself, right?
Yeah, and to respond to something that you had said, I get to wake up and think that I'm a better version of myself. And I want to be clear about this to you and everybody out there, that it ebbs and flows, man. It as much as I'd love to, even now I'm sitting here, on this show, and I'm telling you all these accomplishments and stuff. And I feel like I can barely even take credit for a little bit of it. The book, sure, I had help with that. I had a great team, over at Scribe. And
but you took the leap of faith, though.
Oh, absolutely, and that's not for nothing, right? The leaps of faith are incredibly important, but so is your support system.
Yep.
And it's really easy, when you do find this type of success to roll over and say, hey, look, I did it, but the second you say that, this is the second you lie to yourself just a little bit. Right? The second we did it is a much better response. So just to interject.
No, love it. And spot on. There's nothing else I can say on that. So for the audience's sake, we don't have time to do it. I'm thinking of the old days. Remember the leadership books when they'd condense them down?
Oh, yeah.
From before Audible and all the things. It's like you used to get those shorts. But could you kind of distill the book down for the audience's sake to kind of give them maybe some yearning and passion to maybe go out and buy it, read it, find it, whatever.
Sure.
But what is that kind of distilled version of what you're trying to get accomplished in the book?
Yeah, so I tried to make it as relatable as possible. So the book really, it starts out with three different high school students, right? The one that just absolutely hates school, the one that and has no desire to go to college, the one that is a brainiac but doesn't really know what they want to do the rest of their life, and then the one that's the class clown and is figuring out what they want to do as far as between college or something else. And so really the book aims to paint a picture of, okay, the school system tells you that you have to go to college in order to be successful. I mean, I don't like generalizing, but listen, most of it is, hey, this is the neat little box of what success looks like, and this is how you fit into it. And it's graduate high school, go to college, get a degree, buy the house, the white picket fence, the dogs, the 2.5 kids, and all of that.
You could have my half kid.
Yeah. So that's kind of, this picture that the education system has painted for a lot of these kids. And the problem is everybody defines success differently, right? And so that's really what the book aims to unveil is that, hey, it's not go to college or serve at McDonald's for the rest of your life. And no offense to anybody who's serving at McDonald's, of course, but it's an entry-level job, And so it's and a lot of times this is the impression that everybody's under, right? Because the statistics that we're shown, and I do a lot with statistics in the book, right? This is statistics that we're showing are, hey, this is the average wage of people who went to college, right? After they graduate college. And then this is the average wage of people who didn't go to college. And there's a lot more buckets over here that are being diluted, by the way that they're phrasing it, as statistics often are, and because you can't group skilled labor into that category. It's just there's an element of education to it. It's just not formal college education, and so the book really kind of brings that down to the ground and explains a little bit more what that means. Hey, this is how much you can make in the skilled trades in every different sector, right? In all the different sectors. These are the sectors that are growing the fastest. These are the ones that, you can focus on if you like doing X, Y, and Z, right? And then sprinkled throughout the book are quotes and examples from people in and around the trades, because as you know, right, the trades isn't just, hey, fix toilets for the rest of your life. Right. It spans an array of different things that people just don't understand. Like, there's trades adjacent businesses that need labor just as much as trade businesses need labor, and you can take the knowledge that you learn from doing a trade and go any direction with it. For example, entrepreneurship, right? I mean, that's on a pedestal today. But most people think that the way to get there is to get big on Instagram or to set up a consulting agency or, But really, if you just get your, roll your sleeves up, get your hands a little bit dirty, I mean, one of the quickest ways to entrepreneurship is to learn a trade. Yes. And so the book really aims to unpack all of that in an understandable, enticing way for the youth of the nation.
Well done. My mind was spinning as you were going.
I could tell. I could see it spinning.
The reason is I think you tapped into something that maybe I can finally put into words. So you took that box, decentralized that box, but now I think you hit one nail in the head that just should resonate with anyone listening and wants to read the book or dive deeper, and we'll get into your podcast next, is that you can't stop at that level. It's kind of like what you were saying earlier, like if you say you've got it, you really don't have it.
That's right.
Right? So same thing here is the trade is a vehicle. That's all it is. It's not a destination.
That's right.
It's the journey, right? So it's like, okay, if now I can get this right, well, guess what? I've got better life skills. I have better this. I have better that. Oh, I conquered that. I can go conquer this.
Yeah.
And that's the evolution that I believe our society is forgetting. It's like I didn't go to college, get a degree, and I was a CEO 5 minutes later.
That's right.
It never works. The difference with what you're describing is I just don't have to go $200,000 in debt to get on that journey, right?
100%.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Right. And so that's my way of kind of paraphrasing it a little differently, knowing some of our audience of going, hey, Josh is spot on here. And, you know, the book is just a catalyst of saying, here, it's right in front of your face. Go grab it.
That's it.
All right. So then book was a success. I love how you captured that. And for those of you watching and listening, I encourage you to, you know, read it, subscribe to Josh on his podcast as well. Blue is the New White. A lot of interesting content there. So then you dive into the podcast. How long have you been doing that now?
That launched just after the book. The book published in May of 2019. I think I started doing the podcast June or July of 2019.
And how many episodes have you done so far?
To date, I think 142.
Nice.
Yeah, with different guests. A couple of guests have returned, but about 140 different.
And then you're
guests.
on like this. You're on guest ones all the time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What, you know, the reason I'm going down this path is over that time, how has the message changed? Or has it been pretty consistent?
No, the message has been pretty consistent. You know, and really the intent of the podcast, it's a little bit different than the book. It's, you know, the book is the catalyst, right?
Yep.
The book is the foundation. The podcast aims to highlight the individual, right? The podcast is all about my guests. It's all about why it is they love what they do, in hopes that somebody out there listening can relate to one little piece of information, right? As you know, and grab onto that and say, wow, you know, I was at that same spot just 6 months ago. Maybe this is a path for me. You know, but like I said, I talk to people all over the world in all different trades: linemen, electricians, carpenters, you know, HVAC technicians. I had a commercial diver on who was talking about how he welds and dismantles sunken ships. Like, how cool is that? Like, you know, I talked to a lady in Istanbul, Turkey, who's a high efficiency energy engineer, you know, trying to bring infrastructure to that region. I mean, just the rewards that you know these industries bring, and the sense of fulfillment that the people have.
Fulfillment. There you go.
Yeah. It's just, this is what's not talked about. Because when you think of plumber, what do you think of? Right? When you think of a carpenter, what do you think of? You don't think of somebody who's happy, enjoying their time. You think about somebody's butt crack, right? And, you know, I mean, let's be honest, right?
Yeah, the stereotypes are wide and
yeah, I mean, the grease monkey
deep.
stuff, and, you know, and it's like, this is what we're brought up to believe. But in actuality, these people are wildly happy.
So and I should know this, but I have to ask you: Have you either met or been with Mike Rowe on Dirty Jobs at all?
No, I haven't.
Because I was like, oh my gosh, Josh and Mike Rowe should do a.
I would love to get on a podcast.
We'll hit them up together, because I think you're right for that. Because I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, you guys would be perfect for each other. Oh shoot, you got me thinking a million miles an hour. Oh yes, skills gap.
Yeah.
That was the one thing. So talk a little bit about, again, through your own journey, what do you see on the skills gap of what we have to, I mean, again, you've got the book, the catalyst, we get that, but let's kind of dive into some more details because we've got some time left. The skills gap, can you just address it from how you'd like to talk to the audience about that?
Sure, yeah. So those who don't know, the skills gap is a pretty simple concept, right? That more people are retiring from these industries than entering into them at a rate of about 5 to 1. And that was the last time I checked. It could be even higher at this point.
Probably is.
You know, and coupled with the average age across these industries being in the late 40s, early 50s, I mean, we're in for a pretty rude awakening if we don't have a severe influx of a lot of people, you know, relatively quick. You know, and we could speculate all day long what the reasoning behind it is. There's a million reasons why this exists. I mean, one of the things we're talking about right now is perceptions, right? I think that had a lot to do with it. And, you know, for a long time, the trades were not desirable work. You know, it's a little bit different today with the technology that's available and stuff like that. But unfortunately, you know, the perceptions of the cultures that exist across these industries is ingrained. I mean, that's, you know, so we're talking all about how to flip the script, right? How to swing the pendulum, how to get back to talking about this sense of fulfillment, how to attract the next generation, how to speak their language, what is it they value, and how do we bring that down and tie it to what we do on a daily basis in the skilled trades, right? You know, one of the things I like to say is, you know, kids these days, they love to change the world, right? They want to change the world. So why aren't we introducing them to the industries that can actually do that?
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
You said a bunch of really good things there. I'm just thinking back. So, for the audience's sake, just to draw a qualifier here, I was at our Vistage meeting, I don't know when it was, like a week or two ago, and we had our guests come in, and it was all about the different generations, which we've all heard about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows.
Yep.
But it was really cool. We went through an exercise where we separated the room, and we had, you know, boomers, Gen Xers,
Gen Zs,
the millennials.
Yeah.
And that exercise was so fun, so exciting. And by the end, we literally were having a exercise on emoji training. And it was shocking, though, something so trivial like that,
Yeah.
Josh, where now we can communicate.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, if everyone could just take a 15-minute tutorial on this, a class on this. I haven't thought about how I thought I was connected and communicating with my, you know, my one high school son.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was off and off by a long ways, right?
What do they say now, that a period is construed as aggressive?
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Oh, it would. We could spend a whole. Oh, look at Sean's looking at us like you guys are on crack. Oh, you know, forget about the, you know, the eggplants and all that kind of stuff. But the other things, as far as like the color of a heart and the punctuations, how it's misinterpreted.
Yep.
However, let's get off of that.
Yeah, sure.
The point is you hit on it. It's they want to change the world, so give them the oyster, right? Or give them something to go find it. And it really starts at that communication level of finding out what's important to them.
Yeah.
And so where we've had on a lot of the other episodes, and I'm not discounting those, where we focused on, you know, a lot of how the high school programs are combining with the industry, with the college programs, and all these great things. Like I'm thinking back to our guests that we had from Cottonwood and Camp Verde down, you know, to think about what those kids are being exposed to up there for trades and things like that. It's unbelievable. We had, you know, the Masonry Council people in here talking about how they're doing all those things to foster the masonry growth. We could go through every trade like that.
Yeah.
But the crux of it is give them fulfillment and give them something to be passionate about where they're going to change the world, because they all think they can.
That's right.
So who are we to, again, be judge or jury and go, no, you know, back to this box.
Yeah, right.
Right? Fit in this box, everyone. Well, that was our box growing up, you know. Break that down and move on. With that, again, with all your episodes and communication going back and forth on that, has there been any other things on that skills gap that you found that you really want to share with the audience so they can think about it in their own companies?
From a like a company perspective,
Either way, just kind of like this, just kind of like you know, just like that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with communication, right? That's difficult, and I think that largely, and again, I'm going to generalize again here, but you know, I realize not all companies in the skilled trades are like this, but a lot of them have a bit of an old school mindset, right? You know, I mean, and you know what I mean by that, right? Kind of rough and tumble. Hey, this is how it is. This is, you know, which is great. And you know that my dad is that way. I'm largely like that too. You know, which is why people tell me all the time that I don't fit into the millennial box, which I'm kind of okay with.
You're a zennial.
Yeah. So, but I think that if we could just as an industry, understand that as we move forward into the future, our leadership style needs to change, not change who we are or what we're about or our values or anything like that. But we need to understand that leadership is not just a one size fits all, just like success is not a one size fits all. And to be an exceptional leader, well, let's say this, to have an exceptional company, you have to have an exceptional team. And to have an exceptional team, you have to be an exceptional leader. But the only way to do that is to lead the person, right? And lead the individual. You were wondering where I was going with that, huh?
No. I was following you.
But I think that could be forgotten a lot in not just this industry, but really all industries, right? And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do from within the trades is understand that not everyone's going to learn the same way. Not everyone's going to be led the same way. And it's up to you as a leader of your organization to figure out what works. Because at the end of the day, nothing else matters. What works?
Yeah, I don't know. You made me think of something, and I have no problems paying this forward because for those of you that don't know Tommy Mello, he owns A1 Garage Door, A1 Door. He's out on every kind of social media and everything as well. His success is unparalleled, right? But when you watch his videos and listen to what he's doing on social media, it's all about that.
Oh, okay.
And I encourage all of you, look him up, A1, Tommy Mello. You couple that with what Josh is sharing today. If you don't have a little bit of inspiration to have a better organization and create an environment that will foster almost unparalleled growth, it's more about that, again, success as defined by I don't like groupthink, but group success, right?
Yeah.
Because, again, what good is it if you walk away as, whatever defines success for you, whether it's dollars, this, that, legacy, who cares? Yes, that's great, but if it's just for you, Josh, that's kind of pretty shallow, right? I think when you look at the greatest organizations, they figured that out, and you couple it with what you're talking about, and again, what I've mentioned about with Tommy, there's some really good synergies there as far as the message, but it takes a stronger person to implement those.
It does.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right?
My dad says that too, and sometimes you got to get humbled. And I think honestly, that's one of the things they don't teach in business school, right? I mean, I never went to business school. I'm just assuming, but
no, they don't teach it.
But right, it's one of those things that you've got to learn that from experience, or you could just listen to us. That's up to you. But really,
look at our battle scars.
but I mean, it has a much different impact when you live it, when you go through it, when you make those mistakes.
Right.
Listen, I have eaten crow so many times and listen, I've had a big head and I've gotten humbled all the way down, I'm sure, but those experiences are important, because if you truly do care about your team, about your company, and, you want to be better tomorrow, you're going to take all that, you're not going to be bitter about it, and you're going to use it to learn.
Right.
Right?
What haven't I asked you that you want to share? I mean, you do this all day, every day. So I'm sure there's tons of topics we could dive deeper into. But in the limited time we have left, what else would you like to share?
Oh man, that's tough.
I know it's open ended, but
just a little bit.
Come on, you're tough. Whether it's like leadership, I mean, back to anything that's spun off from the blue is the new white. Have you ever gotten anyone attacking you for that?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, totally.
Give me an example.
So there will be. I'll get emails probably once every couple of months, about people telling me that I'm steering children in the wrong direction, and that I should be ashamed of myself for telling people not to go to college. And if anyone has ever listened to me actually talk, they know that that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the biggest advocate for the right education for the right individual. If you know from the time you're 6 years old that you want to be a heart surgeon,
then go for it.
Then you're going to need college for that. I don't want you opening my chest with YouTube videos. All right. I get it. But yeah, I mean, and
Sean, you can't do production based on watching YouTube videos. Sorry.
But, and so I don't know if I mentioned this, but in 2013, one of the things that we did Windy City to kind of level us up is I was the first one in the restaurant equipment space to have a YouTube channel that showed people how to do basic repairs and maintenance on their commercial kitchen
Literally
equipment.
giving away you're giving away the secret.
Yeah, and so I have been ripped limb from limb, service companies all over the country, not so much anymore, which plays exactly into what I told every single one of them after I did it, right? Because this was 10 years ago that I started this. And so 10 years ago, 9, 8, 7, I heard it from all corners of the country is, hey, I can't believe you're giving away these trade secrets. And we're talking about how to flip a GFI. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how to change a filter, I mean,
your average ticket price, what your EBITDA is on that.
Oh
it's
gosh.
like, give it away. Who cares?
Unbelievable. So anyway, but every single time I would tell these people, I would say, listen, transparency is the way of the future. And who do you think customers are going to call when something goes wrong? Is it going to be the person that hides everything and keeps the cards close to the chest, or is it going to be the one that puts it all out there for you to see? Of course, it's going to be me, at the end of the day. But to your point, I've had a lot of people reach out on those videos, especially saying, "Hey, you're out of your mind."
There's a lot of parallels to that. When you said that, it made me think of other people that I've talked to that have opened that up. And I'll give you an example. Think of and we don't need to mention names, but think of companies that have put their price books out there, to just literally like come to our website, look at, that's just kind of an entry level thing. But again, a lot of competitors, don't do that. They'll know our margins. It's like, listen, I don't know anyone out there that's making so much on their margins that they're just printing cash. Yeah, there might be a few, but generally you're either fair market or you're going to get squeezed out one way or another, right?
Yep.
So if you're really good at what you do and you're willing to do that, that's just competitive advantage.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that we've always tried to do is be very strategic about, okay, we're going to be one step ahead.
Yep.
And once we get one step ahead, we're going to share what we did. And then we're going to keep doing that, and if you can continue to be one step ahead and continue to share what you've learned, number one, nobody's going to catch you. And number two, you're going to be thought of as a thought leader in the industry.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's going to be a huge catalyst for growth.
So go back to let's call it the negative Nancy's, as I like to say.
Mm-hmm.
If you had any experiences where that turned into a positive, like you're talking about eating crow. I was just curious through all the people that have zinged you based on this kind of methodology or mindset, did any of them come back and go, you know what, Josh, thank you for changing my mind? I'm just curious.
Not anyone on social media.
Okay.
No, I've had some personal situations like that I had to make some tough calls as a leader in my organization that people didn't like, but then they've come back and say, hey, I get it now. Yeah. But from a social media standpoint, no. Those people kind of they dig their heels in. And
no, you answered the question the way I expected it. I wasn't worried about the social media because again, not everyone's going to like everything, and nor can you ever make everyone happy.
Yeah.
I can't, like I said, I just always like to end the episode and kind of leave it an open forum as far as if there's any messages you want to send to the audience, or I just thank you. You've done a great job of kind of, I know we could have gotten a lot deeper in a lot of it, but just paraphrasing what it was all about, the why you did it, the how you started. I think it's a tremendous validator and advocacy for other people that are listening, watching this going, oh, there's enough there. Thanks, Josh, for sharing, because now I can go take my own leap of faith. And I think that's what all of us want to see more of out there is people kind of transcending their own paradigms and their own boxes, right, within their space and making our industry better in a kind of a holistic fashion. So
yeah, to end it, I would say the one other thing that I would say is that our time here is very finite. All right. And there's been situations through my life that I think I've alluded to it a little bit, that have humbled me. Some of them were my own doings and screw ups and
they
stuff
usually
like
are.
that, right? And others were lessons learned from tragedies and losses and things like that, and I found myself because each one of those events changed me, right? And all of them reminded me that whatever you want in life as a leader, as a business person, as a tradesperson, as whoever you are, tomorrow's not written, and all you can do is write today. But you have to start. There's no time to sit on the couch and veg out and play video games or whatever, unless you're going to be a video game designer. Someone's going to pick that shit apart too, but there is no time to waste, right? And don't wait for one of those tragic circumstances to open your eyes, because then, you're going to look back and you're going to say, well, geez, if I only would have done this
shoulda, coulda, woulda
8 years ago, how much further along would I be? Use this conversation today, what we're talking about right now. If there's anything that you took away from it, do it.
Yeah.
Just don't wait. Don't stick it on a to-do list somewhere. Just do it. That's what I'll say.
Great advice from Josh Zolin. Windy City Equipment. God, just can't thank you enough for being on today, Josh. Great inspiration for all the listeners. Until next time, thanks for joining Mac and Blue Podcast. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Torrey Contracting and Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Robert Johnson and JJ Levensky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in live every first and third Thursday at 3 p.m. as we continue to introduce you to the people building Arizona. Walt Disney said, "You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality." Until next time, make it a great day.